Hello, everybody. Welcome to Amar's Game Chat. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. I am Amar wearing a Dragon Knight t shirt today, and we are less than 2 days away from the Pokemon Presents for Pokemon Day 2026, which also happens to be Pokemon's 30th anniversary. So, for a video today, earlier today, I uploaded a video just talking about some of my favorite Pokemon cards from my collection, but I wanted to make today a double upload because I also wanted to talk about my bingo card that I've created for this Pokemon Presents. This is kind of like an extension of my predictions video that I made and uploaded on Tuesday. So, if you haven't seen that yet, feel free to also watch that. I'll leave a link down in the description below. But this is like an extension of it. I'll talk about some of the predictions I made in that video through my bingo card. And yeah, so I'm really excited to do this. For every like Nintendo Direct and Pokemon Presents, I always make a bingo card just because it's always like something fun to do. And I think this one's going to be a pretty fun one as well, because again, it is for the 30th anniversary Pokemon Day Pokemon Presents. So I think it's going to be really cool. But I hope you all enjoy this video. And without further ado, let us get right into it. So I have 25 slots. So we have 25 slots. One of them is a free space, which is just the 2026 Pokemon Day 30th anniversary Pokemon logo. I thought they always like use this pretty cool logo with like Pikachu for Pokemon Day, and it has Pokemon Day on it. It's very fun. I like the logo, so I always use it as my free space. But the first real spot is, and I think it's like the thing that a lot of people have just been talking about in like the lead up to Pokemon Day, because I think it's like the one thing that we pretty much all can agree on that is probably going to be here, and that is Pokemon Generation 10. So yes, I do think Pokemon Generation 10 will be revealed here. It makes the most sense. This is, I think, the longest gap between a generation game. So Scarlet and Violet came out in 2022. Presumably, Generation 10 will be coming out towards the end of this year for 2026. So 4 years, I think since they've gone to worldwide releases, this is the longest gap that's been between like the beginning of a generation and then the next beginning of another generation. So Generation 10, I'm expecting it to be here. I'm expecting it to, I'm expecting it to be closer to the reveals we've had recently for generation games. So like the Scarlet and Violet reveal, the Sword and Shield reveal, the Pokemon Legends Arceus reveal, and like the Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl reveal, where it's like a trailer and we see like different parts of the world and everything. Some of like the returning Pokemon like Pikachu, I'm expecting to see like a new Pikachu model for this game, and then like some like other Pokemon from like the older generations showing up as well. And yeah, I'm expecting the Generation 10 reveal. I'm very, very excited to see Generation 10. We'll get to it a little bit later, but I also have a slot for the Generation 10 first partner Pokemon, so I'm also expecting to see those. But once we get there, we will talk about it for a little bit. But yeah, I think Generation 10 makes the most sense. It's like the first thing I thought of when I wanted to make this bingo card. Like, what's the one thing I know I'm gonna put on here? It was the Generation 10 reveal. And then so I was honestly thinking about putting that as my free space, but like I said earlier, I love using the Pokemon Day logo as the free space because it's just a pretty cool logo. And yeah, so Generation 10, expecting it to be revealed. I would be very, very surprised if it's not, but I'm expecting it. And I couldn't think of a better picture for it, so I just put a normal Pokeball. And then probably for like the Pokemon Presents, they're probably gonna get like towards the middle of the year. I'll probably use like the water starter as the picture there, which I think would be pretty funny. And pretty cool. Not pretty funny. I mean, it would be funny and cool because I'm going to choose the water starter more than likely, because I always chose the water starter. But for the second spot, it is the 30th anniversary TCG set. This is something I'm a little less sure on. So we're going from something that I was I'm extremely confident on that's going to show up in this presents to something that I'm kind of like 50-50 on. I don't think we've ever had like a major set reveal during a Pokemon Presents in the way that I'm expecting this to be. Like, I know we've seen the introduction of like the subsets as we've gone forward, but I'm expecting this 30th anniversary TCG set to be pretty big and everything. In the sense, like, I'm expecting there to be like returning cards and new cards. The 25th anniversary had like many different ultra rare, like we had like level X's show up in that set. We had V cards. We had I think it was we had some EXs. We had like Gold Star Umbreon show up again. So I'm expecting like multiple different types of cards to show up in this set. Um, and so I'm expecting like I don't know if they were gonna reveal like everything of it about it here because it's probably going to be a set that we see towards like I'm thinking like August, September. That's when we start getting like the first packs for it. But I still think it's gonna be a pretty fun set. And as this is the 30th anniversary Pokemon Day, Pokemon Presents, I think we're gonna see a couple of pretty cool 30th anniversary reveals like that are tied to the anniversary. And yeah, so I'm not expecting it like again, it's like a 50-50, but it would be really cool to see the 30th anniversary TCG set. And then get like a sense of like what they're gonna do with it. We kind of already seen like the introduction of the TCG for the 30th anniversary through like these collection boxes that they're doing, where it includes I believe 2 Mega Dimension packs, or like 3 Mega Dimension packs, not Mega Dimension, Mega Evolution set packs, and then it has like a pack with 3 first partner Pokemon promos that have the 30th anniversary stamp on them. So those are really cool. But I think we're gonna have like a slightly more substantial set come like the middle of the year, towards the end of the year, and then we get some pretty cool promos and packs from it. I'm really excited for that. So that's the second item I wanted to include on the bingo card. You know, we're going from Generation 10, which is a really exciting thing, to the 30th anniversary TCG set, which I think is gonna be really exciting, to Pokemon World and Pokemon World 2026 and Pokemon XP news. This one's interesting because I think we normally get Pokemon World news during the World Championships news during the first Pokemon Presents every year, because it kind of sets up like what all the competitions for the rest of the years leading up to, and we get like what the logo for it is. We get some idea about like what the games will be played, though we already have a sense about what games will be at the championships this year. We get like usually we get like some sort of trailer for it, but we didn't. But the one thing that is different is that they said that the tickets for the Worlds and Pokemon XP would have gone up like very close after Worlds last year, and then they delayed it. So it's like in a very weird spot where I think we were probably supposed to have a little bit more news on Worlds and XP at this point, but you know, they're probably making some changes, and they're probably maybe adding some things. Maybe there's some things that they're like settling on now, and so I figured we're probably going to hear a lot of information on it. Maybe like it's going to get maybe a more substantial presence in this Presents, you know, like a more substantial headline and everything. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. I'm not expecting tickets to like go up after this Presents or anything, but maybe we'll get like an idea about when tickets are going to go up. We'll get like an idea of when like some of the things Pokemon XP will include, like they're going to be like panels and I think they've talked about that there might be panels during Pokemon XP. But for me, it seems like if you watch if you watch Pokemon Worlds, it's like a very competition heavy thing. But there's also in recent years, like they've started to expand it to become more of like also a fan event. So I think that's what Pokemon XP is meant to be. Like it's supposed to keep Pokemon Worlds Championships in the direction of being the competition side of everything, and then Pokemon XP is supposed to be like the fan stuff, like the panels, the convention type of environment for it. And so I'm very excited for it. I'm hoping to go this year. I think it'll be really cool, again, for the 30th anniversary. I think they're going to do a lot of cool things with it. And yeah, so that's like the top 3 things I think I'm expecting to see during this Presents. I didn't really order it in that way, but when it comes to the Pokemon Presents, I kind of, like if I were to envision what I think a Pokemon Day 30th anniversary Pokemon Presents would look like, with what we know right now, I think it would be these 3 option or items as the first 3, like the 3 that I think are pretty fairly likely to show up. And then the next item is we have mobile 30th anniversary events, and I thought about making this a general like mobile that we're gonna get like mobile updates in this Presents, because that's pretty guaranteed. But I think they are going to tie some of the anniversary into the mobile games. So we might get like mobile 30th anniversary themed sync pairs from Pokemon Masters EX. We might get like a 30th anniversary themed deck or like set for Pokemon trading card game Pocket. I think we've already seen that we're gonna get like Pokemon Go merchandise that's like 30th anniversary themed within the game. And I have different slots for like Pokemon Sleep and Pokemon Go just because I think we're gonna get like some new interesting updates for those outside of just being tied to the 30th anniversary. But yeah, I'm expecting there to be a pretty substantial amount of news that just on the mobile games alone, but I'm expecting some of them to also have like anniversary tie-ins just because again, it is the 30th anniversary. This is a pretty big anniversary. If it's also the year that Generation 10 gets revealed, we're gonna have 30 first partner Pokemon from the like major games, like, and then we also have Pikachu and Eevee, but like 30 starters. We're gonna have obviously Generation 10's 30th anniversary. I think it's just, it kind of lines up. They're probably gonna make this a really big year. And I think they tie in some of the mobile games to that as well, which will be pretty cool and very, very fun, I think. The next section, or like the next slot that I have, is Pokemon Legends EA's home support. We don't have a date on its release yet, so I'm expecting it won't be like something major. I think it'll be like something that they just throw in with maybe like some other ZA news. Like in my prediction video, like I talked about how I think they're also going to talk about like what the next couple of ranked seasons look like. I could see that also being included in them also talking like about home support for the game and when that's going to happen. I expect we're probably going to get a date for it because I think we know it's at least happening within the next couple of months. So I think like the next update would be its like release date, and then the update after that would be when it's it actually happening. And I've been actually waiting for Pokemon Legends CA to get home support just because I don't really like releasing Pokemon. So I would love to just take a lot of like the Pokemon that I have a lot of and just move them over to home and just leave them there. Maybe move some of them to champions, which will be another thing we talk about in a little bit. But I don't really like releasing Pokemon, so I haven't really like been playing Legends ZA as much as I wanted to in the last couple of weeks, just because my boxes are full in Legends ZA, and I'm waiting for Pokemon Home support so I can move over my different a lot of the because I've been catching a lot of Pokemon, so a lot of like the Pokemon I'm not really using, I can move them over, and then for like the DLC, I haven't really even dabbled much into the getting the Pokemon via the Pokedex. Like they add a new Pokemon that they've added to the DLC to the game. So like once I'm able to do that, then I'll start catching a lot of the older Pokemon. I mean, a lot of the Pokemon that's now returning in Legends ZA through like the wormholes and everything, which I'm very, very excited for. I haven't finished the DLC for ZA yet, so I'm looking forward to just home support so I can just really jump back in and like for the 30th anniversary, just make that like part of the celebrations, which I think will be pretty fun. So the next slot is a new mobile game. And this is a kind of weird one because we already have so many mobile games, and we already have Pokemon Pokopia coming out, Pokemon Champions. So there's already a lot of games for Pokemon to talk about in this Presents itself and that they're handling. So maybe a new mobile game isn't in the cards right now, especially since we just got Pokemon Friends not too long ago in July of last year. But I think something that's similar to Pokemon Friends in the sense that it's like mainly like a single player game, like Magikarp Jump, where you can just jump in, play it for a couple of minutes every day, and then log out. Maybe it has like the same philosophy like with Pokemon Friends, where you can play it free. There's a free to play option, but then if you like want to play more levels or you want to do more in the game, there's also like an expansion that adds a little bit more content to it, something like that. It's this, like, out of everything so far, this is probably the most unlikely thing, but it would be pretty cool to see a new mobile game. Throughout the entire bingo board, I also have a couple of spin-off series that I think could return at some point this year or next year that they could announce here. So I wanted to give the mobile games like some sort of recognition because there could be a new one here. And I think it'd be a pretty fun one if there's a new one here. Like Pokemon Go was the major release besides Pokemon Sun and Moon during the 20th anniversary, and that was also a mobile game. So maybe we see something, not maybe on that level, but something that's also a pretty fun mobile game show up during this Presents, which I think would be pretty cool. So speaking of these spin-offs, one of the spin-offs that I wanted to put on the board is just a personal favorite. of mine, and like one that I would love to see return one day, is Pokemon Rumble. Back there, I think you can kind of see it. We have some of the Pokemon Rumble games. We have Pokemon Rumble Blast. We have, um, I guess the Pokemon Rumble World isn't on that side. I think maybe, yeah, it's right there above me over there. But I think Pokemon Rumble is a really awesome series, so I would love to see it return. This could be like the new mobile game in some ways. You know, if they want to make Pokemon Rumble for the mobile, that'd be pretty cool. But a new Pokemon Rumble, or like a port of like the Wii U game or any of the games, really would be really fun. So I just wanted to put it on the board. During my predictions video, I was really just talking about the spin-offs in a general sense. So I wanted to include some examples here just because I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, Pokemon Rumble. Hopefully it returns maybe one day. Maybe not, but I think it would just be pretty awesome. And you know, Pokemon Snap returned after so many years, so nothing's really that impossible. So Pokemon Rumble maybe returning one day for the 30th anniversary. That would be a pretty fun surprise and a pretty fun thing to do, especially since it probably would be eShop, like an eShop exclusive. So maybe that'd be pretty fun. I hope they do it at least one day, if not for the 30th anniversary. So the next slot is for a new animated series, and I spent a good amount of time talking about this during the predictions video, in the sense that I mean, I'm not expecting like a major like new anime to show up. Like we already have Pokemon Horizons going on, and I've done a little bit more research, and I think we are still getting more episodes. Like in general, I think they like renewed it more like recently, so I'm expecting to see news on that here as well. But when I say like new animated series, I'm expecting something along the lines of the series, like the type of mini series that we've got during the 20th and the 25th anniversary. That was like focused on going to the different regions and like showing the entire Pokemon world through a couple of episodes. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking they're gonna do for this year. Maybe it would happen later in the year, so maybe they wouldn't announce it here. Maybe they would announce it like during the June, July, August presents. If it's like a November release for the series, because I think there's a chance that they may push it off a little bit compared to the other series, just so they can include like a episode on Generation 10 as well, that like maybe releases around Pokemon Day next year. That's pretty cool, but I think a new animated series will be announced at some point this year. Maybe not even just like this 30th anniversary series that I'm envisioning, but maybe it's just something a little bit smaller. But I could see a like in general just a new animated series being announced in this presents, and maybe even a couple in some ways. You know, if they have a couple of different projects that they're working on, and I think that'd be pretty cool. I'm very excited if they do. Like, I'm very excited just to see if they do a 30th anniversary series, and then I'm also very excited to obviously watch that 30th anniversary series, because what they've done before is also, it's just really awesome. And now that we have like a new version of Kalos, we have like a future version of Kalos, and we have a past version of Sinnoh. I think that'd be like a pretty cool way to like do a couple more episodes, especially if they maybe do want to do a Generation 10 episode. They can like maybe start it in like September, and then just have that keep going on again until Pokemon Day next year. And then they can do like a Hisui and a modern day Kalos episode. I think that'd be pretty fun. So I'm hoping they do that. But just in general, I think we'll see a new animated series at some point during this presents. So the next thing to tie in a little bit to that, and like a new animated series, is a live action project. And I've included two images here. Let me zoom in for a quick second. But the two images I included for this like prediction, or like this bingo card slot, is Red and Detective Pikachu. So I could see Detective Pikachu 2 being announced here, or at least being like, they say like it's in pre-production now, or like they're writing the scripts for it now, or something like that. Or they could do for the 30th anniversary. Maybe it's not going to come out this year, but they could announce that they are working on a live action version of Kanto, like like a live action adaptation of Red, Blue, and Yellow, or like Leaf Green and Fire Red, or like even Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, but something like to do with Kanto. I think that'd be a pretty cool live action project, and I think it'd be an awesome 30th anniversary announcement. Again, tying back to like the origins of Pokemon back in Kanto. Obviously, we are also getting the Leaf Green and Fire Red re-releases on Pokemon Day. So again, if they want to make like a pretty major focus on Kanto, I think a live action project would also be pretty cool. Maybe they can tie in the announcement of Fire Red and Leaf Green like re-releasing on the Switch and Switch 2 to that live action series. I think that would be pretty awesome. But a live action project, I think that like there was a chance of it being announced again. The 30th anniversary presents makes a lot of sense for that, and yeah, so I'm very excited. But that tied in with the new animated series, I think we're gonna be in for a pretty awesome year, just in that sense, like for like the multimedia sense of Pokemon. I think that'd be pretty. I think it's gonna be pretty awesome. So the next one is another returning possible side series, like spin-off series, and it is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. I think obviously amongst all of the spin-offs I'm going to talk about here, I think Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is the most likely, just because it also is, of all the ones that showed up here, that's going to show up here, it is the one that's also most recently gotten a title. And the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon franchise is probably the most successful spin-off series in all of Pokemon. So it would make sense for them to either, you know, do a whole new game on the series, which again, I have a couple of them over there. I have Gates to Infinity, I have Explorers of Sky, and I have, I think, Super Mystery Dungeon. I might have another one up there. No, I do not. But over here, I have Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team. But it would just make a lot of sense. Actually, I do have the other one. I do have the remake of Blue Rescue Team and Red Rescue Team over there as well. But yeah, I think it'd make a lot of sense for Mystery Dungeon to return, even if it's just another remake of the Explorers series with like sub-series in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. I think it'd just be a pretty cool idea. And it's a very fun game, so it returning, I think it makes a lot of sense. We do already have a spin-off releasing this year, pretty much in a week. Like, actually, by the time the Presents airs, it would be like 6 days until Pokemon Pokopia releases. So maybe another spinoff isn't really in the cards for releasing this year. But I think a new announcement for a spinoff would be pretty cool. So again, and I think this Presents is going to be pretty big. They may actually just be a little more, they might go a little more farther out in terms of the announcements they make, just because it is the 30th anniversary. So if like a spinoff is releasing like in the first half of next year, I could see it be announced here. So that's also why I included like Pokemon Rumble and Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, because, you know, it's very possible maybe we do get a spinoff like those early next year and they want to announce it here, or obviously in a Presents later down the line this year. So the next thing is just a basic prediction, or like a basic like slot, more information on the NSO GameCube releases. I think this makes a lot of sense. I think we will probably at some point in the next couple of weeks hear about Colosseum and Gale of Darkness at some point, like when they're going to be releasing on the Switch to Nintendo Switch Online through the Game Boy Classics app. And I think hearing them about them now would make a lot of sense. And I was honestly thinking before the Fire Red and Leaf Green announcement that maybe these could be like the big shadow drop of this Presents. But now that we are getting Fire Red and Leaf Green right after the Presents, I don't know if they want to do too many major releases, like shadow drops, like right after, because a lot of people are just going to be playing Fire Red and Leaf Green. So I think it makes a lot of sense to say like a date range for when they, or like maybe next month is going to be like Pokemon Colosseum. So like they say in March, or maybe they give a specific, maybe they give a specific date and they say like on March, I don't know, March, it can't be March 10th because that's Mario Day, but maybe like in the first half of March, we will be releasing Pokemon Colosseum on Nintendo Switch Online, GameCube Classics, or something like that. That's kind of what I'm expecting. And I guess it also depends on if they're releasing within the first half of the year. Because I think if at least one of them is releasing in the first half of the year, I think that it even makes more sense for them to show up in this Presents. But if they're not, maybe that is like a shadow drop for like another Presents towards the middle of the year when we get like more information on like Generation 10 and everything. But I just want to include it. Maybe it happens, maybe not. Besides the Generation 10 reveal, a lot of this is maybes. Like, I think it's fairly likely we'll see Pokemon Legends ZA home support show up. I think it's pretty likely we're going to see like a new animated series. We're going to get Pokemon World Championships and Pokemon XP news, some events for like the mobile games, but like the TCG set, NSO information, stuff like that. Maybe it's a little less likely, but still, I think we're pretty fun if those things showed up. So, returning back to the mobile games for just a second, I think we also will see a new location for Pokemon Sleep show up. They might tie it in with like another legendary showing up in the game as well, but I think we're pretty fun. Pokemon Sleep is pretty cool. I did kind of fall off of it after a couple of months just because I stopped like being able, like I have the Pokemon Go Plus Plus, so I stopped being able to set that up like every night, and then I would forget to input the sleep data information in afterwards. So I was like kind of falling behind in terms of like how far like I was able to progress in the game, and like I was kind of like slowing down in that sense. So I didn't continue playing it, but it is a really fun game, and it's really fun just to like wake up and see different Pokemon show up everywhere, and I think it's really cool. So it'd be really fun if there's like a new location. I'd get pretty excited about it, even if I'm not really gonna play the game again, or maybe I will. Maybe for the 30th anniversary, maybe I will pop in for a couple of like weeks and try to get like some new Pokemon into like the collection aspect of the game. I think that'd be pretty cool. Then we have the obviously the 30th anniversary Pokemon Day logo. It's very cool. But the next thing I want to talk about is a new animated movie. So like I got them all the three major ones right here. And the reason why I include this here is we normally don't really get that type of information in the presents or like in the directs or anything, but we haven't seen a new animated movie in close to 5 years, I believe now. I think the last one was the one focused on Zarude. So I think it makes sense. Again, 30th anniversary. If they're going back and making, more animated movies, maybe they will focus instead, like post like on the Ash side of the anime. Maybe now these will be like Horizons focused animated movies, but I think it'd be pretty cool to see a new animated movie. Even like I think it'd be even cooler if we saw like the Horizon cast, maybe even, well, I don't know if they would meet the older cast of characters from the anime, but maybe that'd be pretty fun. Obviously I think they're making it's pretty intentional that they want to obviously keep them separate to a certain extent. So maybe that's not something they want to do, but I think it'd be a pretty cool like crossover if they wanted to do that in a movie. But a Horizons focused movie would be awesome. So just a new animated movie at some point this year being announced here, I think they're pretty great. I would be very excited for that. But moving on to the next item is Generation 10 first partner Pokemon reveal. Obviously this is tied into the Generation 10 reveal, so if Generation 10 isn't revealed here, obviously I don't think the first partner Pokemon would be revealed, but I think it's like a given. For like the last couple of generations, for Generation 9 and 8 and 9, we obviously did get the starters revealed with the games. For Sun and Moon, we did not. But Sun and Moon's reveal is really weird because it did have like the little video right before it where they like summarized the entire franchise, and it was a really cool video. And then they went in and they showed off like we will have the next generation of Pokemon this year as well. But they didn't really show much of it. They showed like a couple of like offhand screenshots of it. I don't really think that's something they're gonna do again, just because I think maybe like my theory on that is they wanted to make like Pokemon like this big thing during the summer, so they showed off Sun and Moon like fully through the summer, but they also tied that in with Pokemon Go. So I think maybe like having the first reveal of Pokemon Sun and Moon, like the first look of it during the summer with Pokemon Go, probably maybe like was a pretty cool marketing move on their end. But I don't think they have like that type of marketing move for this year. So I think we will see Generation 10 during this presents. I think we will see the first partner Pokemon. Again, I will 99.9%, there's like a 99.9% chance I will choose the water starter. So I'm very excited to see the water starter. In the video I'm gonna upload hopefully tomorrow, you will see I have like all of the water starter standing pins, just because those are very cool. And again, water starters, like, I'm able to collect them all. I think it's just really awesome. But yeah, I think we will see Generation 10, and I think we will see the first partner Pokemon, which I think will be pretty fun. So the next thing is Pokemon Go. And the reason why I separated this from the anniversary events is because Pokemon Go is also celebrating its own anniversary this year, being its 10th anniversary. So every 10 years, technically, the Pokemon franchises and like that year's anniversary will also be tied into the Pokemon Go's next 10-year anniversary. So I don't really know what they're gonna do here. It'd be cool. I mentioned in my prediction video, like they added the other mechanics we've seen throughout the Pokemon games in the form of like terrestrializing and Z moves. Maybe they also allude to, not like right now, but maybe later in the year, that they're gonna add whatever mechanic is also showing up in the Generation 10 games. But yeah, it'd be cool. Maybe some returning Pokemon that we haven't seen in Pokemon Go for a while also return. Maybe they'll probably have something to also do at Pokemon XP that's Pokemon Go related. So I think we'll find out a good amount of what their plans are for Pokemon Go this year. And then when we get to like the next presents at, again, in June, July, August, I think we'll see probably like what like actual like trailers and tidbits into what the plan is. Again, if they're, especially if they're tying it to like Pokemon XP and Pokemon Worlds and everything, maybe there will be like more raids in terms of like raid types and stuff like that. Maybe they will make terrestrializing raids and stuff like that. I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, Pokemon Go 10th anniversary. I think we will see maybe not a substantial part of it now, but I think throughout the year and in this presents, we will see a lot of what they're planning for the year. So I think that's pretty awesome, and that'd be pretty cool just to see everything. But yeah, that's why I wanted to separate it from like the 30th anniversary events, because while I think they will have some 30th anniversary stuff to do in Pokemon Go, I think it also will be focused on its own anniversary. So the next spot goes to new footage for Pokemon Pokopia, and it's weird because the game is releasing at the time of the presents, is going to be releasing only 6 days after the presents airs. So it's in this weird spot where I don't know if they want to reveal too much more of it, just because at that point, like, I think maybe keeping the surprise would be pretty awesome. And that probably honestly may be like what they're trying to do. Like, they're trying to keep a lot of the game under wraps. So as you're playing it, you're seeing a lot more surprises. You're going to be seeing like a lot more of the different formed Pokemon that we've seen. Like, we obviously saw like Moss Snorlax and like the ghost looking Pikachu and stuff like that. We saw like the artist version of Smeargle. So maybe we see like one more form of like those in this presents, and then maybe we see a couple more like tidbits of footage. But we also just got the Treehouse Live yesterday, so we saw also, yeah, we saw like an hour worth of gameplay during that Treehouse. So there's a lot we've already seen of the game. Maybe with them doing that Treehouse, maybe they don't put much focus on it this year during this presents, outside of just saying, please remember that the game is releasing next week. And that's pretty much it. But I mean, whatever we see of Pokemon Pokopia, I know it's gonna be really awesome. So whatever they show, I'm very excited for it. But I think we will see it here. Maybe just not a lot of new information or a lot of footage of it. Speaking of, things that that's already like coming out or very close to releasing, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and that didn't really make a lot of sense, but Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and Pokemon Legends EA events. We're in a weird spot again with these, because obviously I'm expecting the Generation 10 reveal, but I don't expect them to stop supporting Pokemon Scarlet and Violet or Pokemon Legends EA like immediately after the Generation 10, because that's not really what they ever do with the Pokemon games. But obviously I think they're gonna start slowing down. So I think it'd be cool if like they started maybe they show off a couple of events that are gonna be tied into the 30th anniversary. Like during my prediction video, I mentioned that it'd be cool if they brought back like all of the mighty starter mighty starter full evolution starters in like their terraforms back to the raids. Maybe they're all available and you just run into and like enter different raids, and like you'll run into whatever starter is at that raid. So that'd be pretty cool. Maybe like another thing that they could do is like they start putting in some of the legendaries that are already in the game into raids, so anybody can get those legendaries. I don't know if they would allow like you to get two of the same legendary if you've already caught it during the Indigo Disc DLC. But again, I think we're pretty awesome. That like brings up another point that, and I mean, it's also possible like it's a totally different type of raid, like raid concept. Like maybe they do a different it's weird because the starter one obviously makes the most sense, but I guess they could also just do Miraidon and Koraidon, because in a very weird sense, they also probably don't want to do raids that they've already done because people have already gotten those Pokemon. So like it wouldn't be as exciting for a pretty substantial amount of the player base. So I could see them honestly doing like Miraidon, Koraidon, maybe maybe some of the like DLC exclusive Pokemon like Ogerpon and Dropagos shows up as well. That'd be pretty cool. But something like on those lines. And then Pokemon Legends ZA events. Again, I think that's more of me speaking to, I think we'll see more information on what the next couple of like ranked seasons looked like. What like Mega Stones will be included within those ranked seasons. Maybe there's like another mystery gift that they want to put into the game that's like another quest that maybe maybe like I don't know if they wouldn't add any like additional Pokemon through mystery gift, but maybe like there's a special event that they want to include in the mystery gift, or like through the raids and everything, or not through the raids, through like the ranked battles and everything. But I think we hear information at least on one of these. I wouldn't be surprised if like we get events for both of them that like lead us into Generation 10 to a certain extent. So speaking of, again, going back to the spin-offs, another spin-off I wanted to include was Pokemon Ranger, just because I think it makes a lot of sense for the Switch too, because we have the mouse controls, so that could act as the bottom screen when you're like trying to like capture Pokemon. So I think that'd be pretty awesome if they did that. I don't think like Pokemon Ranger is one of those games that I don't think they would ever go back and like release the DS versions of it, just because that would require a lot of work. And then I think a lot of the appeal of Pokemon Ranger is the fact that you are like it has that second screen, so you are able to capture the Pokemon through the bottom screen. So I think something like with the mouse controls makes a lot of sense. And just, you know, maybe that's like, maybe it is a new Pokemon Ranger. Maybe that's how like they do a remake of the first Pokemon Ranger to like gauge interest in the series. But I think they're pretty cool. Pokemon Ranger is a really fun series. Again, one of those. I think we have two Pokemon Rangers up there. Maybe we have one up here. Yeah, we have one up here. I think that's Guardians of Alma, and then we get the Raikou focused one. I think it's Shadows of or maybe no. I think that's Guardian Signs over there. I think that is the yeah. That's I think that's Shadows of Almia, and then Guardian Signs with Raikou. So that's very fun. It would be cool if they did either a remake or a new Pokemon Ranger. So just wanted to include it. You know, that's kind of like with a lot of these spin-off ones and like the live action project one, and I guess to a certain extent, like the 30th anniversary one, they're like just manifestation. Like I'm trying to manifest those things to just show up in this presents. I think it'll be pretty awesome. But yeah, then we have 30th anniversary retrospective. So this is kind of what's talking about with like the Sun and Moon. The Sun and Moon reveal trailer started off with the retrospective of the entire franchise from the gaming perspective, and then the 25th anniversary present started off with a retrospective of like the entire franchise. And I think we'll see that again here. I think it's gonna be kind of emotional, just because there's gonna be a lot of things that they include that I think is gonna pull out the heartstrings in terms of just like the types of games they show, just like the entire franchise. You know, I think it's just gonna be. I'm honestly expecting to tear up a little bit during it, just because I think it's gonna be kind of emotional. But I just want to include that here because I think we are gonna get it. You know, it's kind of a free spot, but I think it's just gonna be something that's gonna be like a pretty substantial part of the presents to a certain extent. I think it's probably gonna be like 4 to 5 minutes long. It's just gonna have a lot of different things they show off in it. It's just gonna be really cool. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see that retrospective and just think about all the years of Pokemon. And yeah, you know, I'm expecting to make. I think I'm gonna try and make a video tomorrow just talking about that same topic. So feel free to tune in for that as well. I have 2 videos hopefully planned for tomorrow. But I'm very excited. I'm just very excited to see that. And again, I'm very excited for the entire presents and Pokemon Day in general. I'm really looking forward to everything. But we do have 5 slots left, so let's get right to it. We have Pokemon Unite updates. I think it makes a lot of sense. It might be tied into the 30th anniversary, but it would be cool to see like a new stage show up for the game. I expect to see like some new Pokemon that'll be like become like I don't know if they're what they're called in like, but you're able to like choose them and like use them as like your player in the game. So I'm expecting to see more Pokemon show up, maybe some new like supports, maybe some new legendary show up like on the fields and everything, just something like that. You know, if we don't see it here, we'll probably see it at either at the next Pokemon Presents or during Pokemon Worlds, because that's when they also usually give like a nice roadmap for what's coming to the game. So I think we'll see at least one new Pokemon show up during this Presents, which would be pretty cool for the game. Then we have 30th anniversary collaborations and merchandise. Obviously, they've already released the first line of like merchandise that you can buy off the Pokemon Center right now, but I also included collaborations just because the 25th anniversary had, I believe, they announced a couple of like the musical collaborations that they were doing. So I expect, I think in the Presents they announced those. I think during the 30th anniversary they will also do the same. I think they have a couple of musical collaborations that they will have like show up throughout the entire year. So I think it'll be cool. Just like something like nice to announce. And again, with the merchandise thing, I think maybe like wave 2 of the merchandise, like maybe like as I mentioned in my predictions, maybe like a poster for the entire franchise, like they did with the 25th anniversary. Maybe I don't know. They always do graduation merchandise. Maybe they'd make like a 30th anniversary graduation merchandise line. Stuff like that. Very cool stuff. Obviously, we need to see the Nido King versus Gengar line from like Red and Blue. Like they said they're gonna have merchandise for that as well. We saw a couple of examples for it, so maybe that's what they announce here and show off more of here. But I think we'll see collaborations. That's probably more likely than the merch side. Maybe we'll see both. Who knows? But pretty fun. I would probably buy a lot of 30th anniversary merch because it's pretty cool stuff, and it's just memorabilia stuff. I think that's really awesome. So the next thing is Pokemon Tournament returns. That is the last spin-off I have listed here, just as like a manifestation, prediction, hope type of inclusion. But I really like Pokemon Tournament. It was just a really fun new spin-off to the series. I think maybe it's sold. I'm assuming it's sold pretty well. Obviously, it already also has like the arcade version of it. Obviously got DLC in 2018, so I think it'd be a pretty cool franchise to bring back, and that's also something that they can bring to Pokemon Worlds going in the future. Maybe not this year, but like in the future years. Pokemon Tournament 2 would be a pretty fun competitive game for the Pokemon Worlds, like they had with Pokemon Tournament in the past. And yeah, that's pretty much just. I hope it returns. I think it'd be pretty cool if it returns, especially because there's even more Pokemon now. Obviously, with Generation 9 and possibly Generation 10. That they could include in the game. So I think they probably also didn't have I don't think they had any Generation 8 Pokemon either, so there'll be 3 new generations that they can use Pokemon from. So I think that'd be pretty cool. So I hope they bring back Pokemon Tournament at least at some point. I'm hoping they bring back at least one of these spin-offs this year, but I hope they bring back all 4 of them at some point this like in the future. But yeah, pretty cool. And then the last 2, I'm just gonna put them on the screen because I don't obviously have too much to say about them. Because especially with like Surfetch'd and Pichu, maybe we'll see new footage, but it isn't releasing until at least early next year. So they'll probably, if not here, we'll probably see new footage for it, like in again the summer or maybe at Pokemon Worlds or something like that. But it'd be cool to see it here, so I included it. And then Pokemon Champions release date is the last thing, just because I kind of feel like I started off with something that's pretty guaranteed, and then I ended with something. I started off with the thing I think is the most guaranteed. And then the second thing that I think is most guaranteed is Pokemon Champions getting its release date during this Presents. It is supposed to release before Pokemon Worlds happens in August, and I think they would probably want players that are competing during Pokemon Worlds to have just to have like more experience, just to have some experienced Pokemon champions before they obviously use the application for Worlds. So I think the goal is to get it out before North American World Championships, or like the North American like regional championships, just so they can test it there and like as like a general thing, get more people involved in it, and then at Worlds they can become like the I don't know, they haven't really announced if it's gonna be Scarlet and Violet and Pokemon Champions or just Pokemon Champions, but I'm expecting it to mainly be just Pokemon Champions. So just to move everyone over and then have everyone just know everything that like is included with Pokemon Champions from the first place. So I think we'll see it here. It could be a shadow drop. Again, before Leaf Green and Fire Red were announced, I kind of thought either Pokemon Champions or the NSO GameCube titles would be shadow dropped for this Presents. But now that we see that Leaf Green and Fire Red are those shadow drops, maybe Pokemon Champions comes out like late next month or something like that. And then maybe the NSO titles again come out next month at some point. But that is all I have. That is the entire bingo card. That's all 24 plus the free space. And yeah, I had a lot of fun creating this bingo card. So I hope you all enjoyed just listening to some of my explanations of the spots that I chose for this bingo card. And yeah, I'm very excited for the Pokemon Presents and Pokemon Day in general on Friday. But I'm trying to have at least 2 more videos tomorrow before the Presents airs on Friday, so I'm looking forward to recording those ones. But that is all I have for you all today. If you have your own bingo cards, please feel free to link them down in the description below, and I'll take a look at them because I love looking at these pretty cool bingo cards like leading into these types of events. But again, that is all I have for you all today. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. And remember to do what makes you happy, because I'm my previous name, Generic Happy, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.